We are very grateful to you for being here. I feel deeply honoured and privileged to have been invited to join in this really important conversation about self-care and well-being. And I'm going to talk in a bit more detail about what I mean by those things in just a moment. But the most important thing to say is that I'm not an expert. I've been doing this work for about 15 years, starting with my studies into what it means to be a parent and be a teacher, so to balance work and life, and then moving into the world of well-being and self-care with my doctorate. But I'm not an expert. I'm a teacher. I was preparing this and I nearly said to you, I'm just a teacher. And I'm not just a teacher. Being a teacher is part of my essence. It is part of my core. It is pretty much the only thing I think in life that I am really good at, and I love doing it, and I feel very proud to be a teacher. I am here then to be part of a conversation. I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert, definitely not an expert on African schools, and I know how many contrasting schools you have within your amazing continent. I am here to give you some practical research-based ideas and frameworks which I hope that you will be able to take back to your schools and share with your colleagues, because I know that some of the people who would love to be here aren't able to be here for all sorts of reasons, partly because it's late on Friday night, partly because of technology. So I want to give you something you can take back and initiate or continue that conversation within your schools about well-being and self-care.
So welcome on board, everybody. And as we've heard, and you can feel the energy that is in the house. I'm already so excited at what I should be expecting from not just from Emma, but from all of us being able to contribute to this conversation. So currently speaking, I'm Dr. Herin Otieno. And if Emma may go back to the flyer that I'm just going to make a mention of. So first of all, just to try and put this in context, we are here as part of what we are calling a campaign. The campaign is being spearled by EduTalk Afrique Radio, which is Africa's #1 online education radio. And basically it's a space for bringing African educators to speak one to another, to cross-pollinate ideas and to be able to catalyze action that will contribute to transforming education in Africa. So this is actually our first campaign, and we're doing it in partnership with a number of organizations. But just to mention, we launched this campaign on 2nd November through an online press conference. We were privileged to have participants from around 7 African countries, both participants from Ministry of Education, education stakeholders, but also media houses. And this webinar, which is one of the webinars we're going to have during this campaign, the campaign will run from 2nd of November down to 20th of November. And then we'll have the climax activity, a teacher festival that we hope to host in Rwanda on 3rd of December. So I just wanted to mention that the most important thing here is for us to be part of this, as Emma said, learn for ourselves, but also glean something that we can go back with to engage our fellow teachers with. We will be able to curate some content, package some of the content from these conversations and share with us and support us in the coming weeks, hopefully to be able to facilitate conversations on the same in some of our other schools. There will be other webinars in the course of this campaign and other activities that maybe I'll mention towards the end. So I just wanted to say that, and I just want to say salute to Emma for taking time to be part of this conversation. And as she said, it is our conversation. We're going to be contributing, sharing ideas, even as she shares ideas from her own experience, given the time that she has been involved with issues related to well-being and self-care. Let me just mention very quickly also that in terms of registration, we had about 162 teachers register, and they were from 11 African countries. So even if they're not here, it's a good indication of how much interest people have in this. And indeed, that's something we've heard from government officers and other education stakeholders, that this is something we have not done. In fact, from the 162, over 60% indicated that, almost 70% indicated that they've never had any training or conversation on issues related to mental health and well-being. And so As a result, part of the expectation was that out of this, you're going to hear more about mental health, well-being. You're going to learn from one another. I'm just trying 162 put in, and you're going to get skills to be able to share with other people. Because of other people's internet, I'm going to request that apart from Emma, we actually switch off our videos, because I know some people have very stretched internet connection. And so we want to make this as light as possible to allow everybody to participate. That's all I'm going to say. This is Dr. Herin Otieno Menya, also known as Africa's own education doctor and education evangelist. So today we are evangelizing on Africa's teachers' mental health and well-being. Back to you, Emma.
Wonderful. Thank you, Herin. So we have about 1 hour and 10 minutes together. Now, if you catch me, I can talk about this subject for about 3 days without stopping. So I have tried to get for you some of the most powerful pieces of my research which have chimed with the most teachers around the world, and start with those. I think Herin will be able to share these slides with people who request them, so you can take them away and use them with your colleagues. And I've said that a few times. The main thing is here that you take something away. We're all different. There will be things in this presentation where you'll think, that's not for me. That's not something that particularly chimes. And there will be things in this presentation where you think, oh yes, I should go and do that. I should focus on that, and that will make a difference to me. That's fine. We're all different. So just then, just a little bit more about me. I've been teaching since 1999. I have taught mainly in London. I'm secondary. I am initially, I started as a French and German teacher. And I suspect from the names there will be some French speakers on here. I'm not going to try my French. And I more recently became an English teacher as well. And I work at a school for children who are who struggle to access mainstream education. So these are children who, because of their behavior and sometimes because of their mental health problems, have actually struggled to access mainstream education. So what do we mean when we talk about well-being? It's really important that we get our terminology correct. So what do we mean when we talk about well-being? Well, when we talk about well-being, we think of it in 3 key areas. So when I say we, this is myself and my co-author of A Little Guide to Teacher Wellbeing and Self-Care, Adrian Bethune. And we spent a lot of time thinking about, what do we really mean? So the first thing that we think about when we think about well-being is the fact that as human beings, and particularly as educators, we experience a very wide range of emotions in a school day. In fact, we experience a very wide range of emotions in 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, we can feel excitement, pride, disappointment, frustration, loads of different feelings. And one aspect of well-being is how we actually process those emotions. What do we do with those emotions? Do we, for example, go and speak to someone if we're feeling upset or angry? If we're feeling proud or delighted, do we write it down somewhere? Do we capture that emotion? So the first kind of well-being is subjective, the experience of a wide range of emotions. The second type of well-being is around psychological well-being. Psychological well-being. So we as human beings, we need to feel in our lives that we have a sense of purpose. So in order to feel good about the world and about life, we need to feel that we have a reason to wake up in the morning, that we have our values that are being lived out every single day, that we are making a difference to other human beings. So that sense of purpose is really crucial and central to teacher well-being. And thirdly, this looks really simple, doesn't it? Feeling good and functioning well. This is about knowing what makes us feel good, understanding ourselves, because it's different for each of us, and making choices about what we do, how we act, where we place our energy, and where we place our attention in order to feel good as human beings. So just Herine asked me just to be very specific about the difference between well-being and mental health. And this is actually, I went off and I had to give this a really good think. And I decided to give you the image of a tree. So if you take the image of a tree and you imagine the roots as representing mental health. So they are the things they're deeply complex, the wirings of the human brain. Those are the things that psychologists and psychiatrists and some of the most amazing people I know spend many years specializing in. Mental health manifests itself in physical ways. It's a series of manifestations of the things that go on in our head. It manifests itself socially. It's deeply complex. Whereas well-being is all about how we perceive the world. It's all about how we make choices around our own experiences of that world, choices around where we place our emotional energy and our attention. So if you think of the roots of the tree as representing mental health, and the branches and the leaves and all those bits growing out as representing well-being. And we have choices. So the trunk almost represents our autonomy. We have choices about where we place our attention, whether we face towards the sunshine. And here, just to be absolutely clear, is a definition from the World Health Organization of well-being. And this is, I'll let you read that for yourselves. But the key thing here is that we experience a wide range of emotions as teachers. The key thing is that well-being is the experience of overall more positive than negative. So you imagine, like in a children's playground, the seesaw. Of course, we get angry, we get frustrated, we get exhausted. But we also get excited and optimistic and happy about the things happening in our classroom. If that positive is dominating over the negative, we can say that we have higher levels of well-being.
From the mystical and magical continent of Africa, this is EduTalk Afrique Radio. EduTalk Afrique Radio. Africa's #1 education radio, where the heart of Africa's education lives. Let's talk Africa. Africa's education is our business.